Welcome back, everyone. Oh my God. Oh, well, we're going to keep going. Welcome back, everyone, to R2Kast number 113. I have laughed there as I welcomed you back, and there's a reason for that. We have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in here that I've just told that I do this weird shapeshift into a different person as I start the podcast. I then tried to do it without laughing and started laughing. It's all down to Jane Strawhorn. She's the reason that this has went wrong to kick off with. Welcome back. As we've said, the last episode we had was with Josh McDonald, a good friend of mine, someone I was actually co-best man for, which was really fun. But he is also a chef that we spoke about Michelin stars. We spoke about some kind of rosettes, not the ones you get on sheep at the show, but some kind of fancy thing that means you're good at cooking food. The next episode we'll have is with Sophie Bell. So for anyone that does farming on the Instagrams, you've probably seen Sophie talking about grass and confusing you a lot because it certainly goes well over my head. But tonight is quite an interesting episode. It's an episode that sort of opens a pretty large gate. And the reason for that is we've got a fair chunk of the senior leadership team, which I believe is the fancy name of SAYFC. So for those of you who don't know what that stands for, Scottish Association of Young Farmers. Is it clubs? I assume that's what the C is. Yep, that would be embarrassing if I got that wrong. And why it's quite cool is we're going to have a chat with some of the sort of fancy people in charge at national level. And what that opens up to is I want to set myself a challenge here, quite a big one, it must be said, of having every club in Scotland on the podcast. Now, that will take at least 10 months if I only ever did SAYFC clubs. So I think that's going to take some time, but it's certainly sort of created a longevity to the podcast that I didn't know I was going to have. So that's the sort of long-term plan. So if you are listening and you're in a young farmers club, which there is 6 people in here that obviously are, and you want to get your club on, please get in touch. I'd love to sort of hear what different people are doing. Different clubs are doing in different areas. There's always going to be a sort of similar principle mantra there, but just sort of see the different things that's happening, which will be quite interesting. I'm sure probably even for some of the people in this call to see what's going on. I have said Laura Nith is first, so I'm the one in charge. Come and fight me if you want. But after that, it's fair game. But we'll jump on in. Today we've got on the call, we've got Amy, Skye, Grant, Ali, Laura and Jane. So we have our national chair, we have our national vice chair, we have the chair of finance, development and wellbeing, comms and marketing, and technically the vice as well, and myself, and then also the chair of what's the ones I've left, competitions and events, the ones I've missed out in Grant. So we'll go around everyone, we'll sort of hear their stories just as people out with young farmers, and then we'll sort of get a bit more into the bones of young farmers, what it involves and what has sort of, there's been somewhat of a reshuffle into how it's been sort of run at this level and how that's going. So we'll kick off purely because she is first in my gallery and Zoom, and that is Amy. Amy, so we'll start with yourself. Tell us a bit about Amy away from young farmers.
Just before we get started with another episode of the R2Kast, I would like to thank our primary sponsors, A-Plan Rural. A-Plan Rural are heavily involved on the social media scene in the ag space with 120,000 followers on Instagram. They use this following to host social media takeovers with farmers throughout the country to showcase their stories. They also post to their rural community blog with further stories about these people in the industry. On top of this, they like to support initiatives that are championing the British agricultural industry, such as myself. So thank you to A-Plan Rural for that.
Hi, Wallace. Yes, so away from young farmers, day to day, I work for Johnston Carmichael, a chartered accountancy firm. I started at JC back in April, so I'm coming up to my 2-month anniversary, I guess. So I currently am working in the business advisory department within the rural team, which is really exciting. Started there recently, as I've said, so for kind of layman terms, that's accounts and tax really for mainly farmers and estates. So that's like my day-to-day. Previous to that, I worked in audit, I've worked in industry. So I've got a few different experiences within accounts. And that's why I was kind of interested and keen to be involved in the Young Farmers Finance Committee. Out with my day-to-day working life, I'll quite often be helping Andrew, my fiance, on his dairy farm or hiking up some hills when I get a chance as well.
Oh, I do love a little cute relationship plug. That always makes me happy. Sorry, I'd be all shy now, but we'll probably get into that a wee bit more, Amy. But from a finance perspective, certainly having worked with you that weekend, there's not really many better people for it, it must be said. I think that would be fair, and everyone would probably agree on that one. Moving on to what is, well, she's actually just pointed out that she is a record breaker. She's very proud of this. The only person to have been on 3 R2Kast. I believe we've had 174 guests on the podcast to date, and Jane is the first to have been on 3, which I didn't even notice. She made sure to make sure we all knew. She was on the original R2Kast People in Farming as herself, number 63, where she got a few more views than Colin McKinnon, which has been a massive thing. Trust me, I hear about it often. And then at Air Show, we did our special bonus on the spot A-Plan sponsored SAYFC podcast, and obviously Jane was the most important person on that. And now today, I'm sure she's here saying she's the most important person again. By definition, I guess in this case she actually is. Jane, tell us about yourself away from Young Farmers.
Wallace, who would have thought I would be your favourite person to speak to? Who would have thought?
Oh, that's not how I see it, but you're going to use it anyway.
Of course. So I am this year's SAYFC National Chair. So the last time, the first time we would have spoke on one of these, Wallace, I was only West Chair, so a lot has changed in that time. Out of Young Farmers, I am a child and family law paralegal for a local firm in Kilmarnock, which sees me working with solicitors and other legal staff, the court service, things like that on a daily basis, providing support and legal advice to families and children across Scotland. So, which sounds a lot fancier than it actually is. When I'm not doing Young Farmers and that, I am actually, and my phone's just reminded me, my only other hobby is learning French. I'm on day 602, so woohoo, go me. So that's my only other hobby really, when I have time out of Young Farmers, and I have very, very little free time. So it's nice to do things like learning French.
You know what my absolute favourite thing about that whole speech was? When you said the only other hobby I have, everyone knew it was French. Everyone was waiting for it. I could see that.
Literally my personality trait at this point. It's the only thing I've got going for me right now.
Well, I tell you what, let's put you in the spot.
No,
let's give us a wee sentence in French. It could even be, "Hi, I'm Jane." You're not going to know national chair, but give us something.
That's easy. So, salut, je m'appelle Jane. Comment ça va?
Yes. No, that's it. Toi, that's you. I've made a fool of myself there. Anyway, you basically know French, so that's pretty cool. So we've got bilingual people in here, and that is why Jane has been on 3 times. She's more than just the national chair, and I've got a few questions about the jump from West to national in a minute. But next on our list is Skye Watson. Skye, would you like to tell us a little bit about Skye?
Hello. So I am the current Development and Wellbeing Chair with SAYFC and absolutely loving every minute of it. But out with SAYFC, I have just qualified as a teacher, which I'm very, very excited about. I've just finished my postgraduate year at Strathclyde University, and hopefully after the boards of examiners have met in the next couple of weeks, that'll be me fully qualified and heading off into my probationary year. So I'm really, really chuffed about that. On the side, I teach lots of drama and dance and all that kind of jazz, lots of jazz hands my way. And I do that with a group out in Eastern Bartonshire. We do lots of community projects and other bits and bobs around the area. So I'll be working with them a lot over the summer before I start my new school in August.
That's super exciting, isn't it?
Absolutely loving it, yeah. Really, really enjoying it. So I can't wait to get stuck in and get my own little class and see how it goes.
Having your own, that is one thing that I've always having teaching, but that's not a thing. You don't have like your own little class. I think that's so adorable. Like you get 20 kids of your own. It's so cute.
Well, when I say little, they are very little. I'm only going to have 18 children in my class next year, and they are primary 4, 5, 6, 7. The full school has a rota of 33 kids, so it really is little.
Oh my God, that's like the same as my primary school, and it was on an island.
Teeny tiny.
I love it. Love it. I didn't know you taught drama. That's fun.
Yeah, I've been doing that. That's actually what my HND was in. So that's kind of what I first went and did after I left school. I went and did my HND in musical theatre and then kind of grew arms and legs and ended up doing my degree through the Open University after that. So bit of a mixed bag.
Excellent. Excellent. And we have went for 3 ladies to kick off with. we're now going to jump over to Grant. Grant, could you tell us a bit about yourself?
Hello there. I was just trying to think. I've never been asked to tell anyone a bit about myself. But, I suppose I'm a third generation farmer at home. We've got a wee bit of everything at home: beef, sheep, dairy and arable. So we like to call ourselves the jack of all trades, masters of none. Growing up, I studied at Oak Ridge College, where I managed to get a HND in drinking and procrastination with a little bit of agriculture on the side. Away from the kind of farming scene and that, I love to play curling, but I'm not very good at it. And I'm also attempting stand-up comedy on the side as well, which is a wee bit weird. I'm not very good at that either, but I'll enjoy doing it, going through to Edinburgh kind of once or twice a week. I'm kind of like Jim Smith off wish.com, but no, that's about all I do. I like running. No, I don't like running, but I do running as well. And I'm going to attempt to do the Young Farmer Cycle to Bigger show as well. So, that's kind of my life in a nutshell.
I didn't know the stand-up comedy part, but I would say all of us were laughing at everything you were saying, and then you said that, so that's got to be a good sign.
You get that.
Self-deprecative humour going down well there. Plus also repping the Back British Farming t-shirts, that's always a win.
Yeah. I actually bought that to do the last marathon, but then it didn't turn up in time, so now I've just got a t-shirt for no reason. But I thought I'd wear it on this, took the tag off it tonight and everything.
Brilliant. First outing. Where do you do the comedy stuff? Is that at the same place every time, or is it different?
No, it kind of changes about. You go through Edinburgh and just try and find what you can find. Well, you find before you go, and then hopefully get on a good show, and then meet someone else and try and get on a better show, and then work your way up to there, or go to open mic nights.
Really interesting. That's class. Yeah. Do you know what I would say, actually? Good on you. Like, I mean, I do guest speaking here and there, but I openly say they're not going to find me funny. But you're going there expected to be funny.
I know.
Yeah.
It's cockiness or arrogance. I don't know. It's one of the two, but
I quite enjoy it. Fair play. I mean, my favourite review doing guest speaking was you're actually not funny. You just seem to enjoy it yourself, and it was good. Like, right, okay, so definitely don't try to take this any further, Wallace, but yours is certainly working better than that. Second last is Mr. National Vice Chair, Ali Brunton.
Hi, Wallace. Yeah, I am Jane's right-hand man for this year. Not sure if that's a good thing or not. She'll keep me right, I would imagine. Yeah, I suppose I'm also a third-generation farmer. Farm in the East Nuka Fife, just outside Anstruther. We're at sheep and arable. And yeah, grandfather was a butcher, sold his business and bought a farm in 1957, I think it was. So yeah, following on the footsteps from him and my dad at home. Away from that, well, I went to Strathclyde University in Glasgow and got an HNC in mechanical engineering, and then a degree in sports engineering. Not that I use any of that anymore. But no, I enjoyed that. It was good. It was good to go and do something different, I suppose.
Do you ever see yourself going into that?
It's actually surprising how much of it's transferable, especially the mechanical side of things. From my first year of the mechanical engineering, there's a lot of it is transferable to the farm at home. Yeah. But yeah, I don't really see myself doing anything else other than farming now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, other than that, other hobbies, play a wee bit of rugby when I'm not injured. Got a bit of a gammy knee that's been going on for a long time.
Preach it,
yeah, play.
I'm with you.
Play at a local club in Cooper called Howe Fife. So yeah.
Oh, very good. How is it being Jane's right hand man?
Torture.
I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. No, Colin McKinnon's passed on all his tips. Apparently apples and Monster Energy is the way to keep her sweet. So.
And was it Tang Fastics as well? Was that what it was? I think that was in there.
Yeah, I think so.
Monster Energy.
It's Skittles.
Skittles.
Just to keep the blood sugar at a good level. I think if it gets out of balance, then she can be a bit of a handful.
Are we trying to pretend, for the sake of this recording, that she's not a handful anyway?
Yeah, I'm trying to be polite.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll keep it going. We'll keep it up for the rest of the episode. But after that, we'll maybe go back to normality again. And last, but by absolutely no means least, is the Jane to my alley, Laura, who is the chair of Comms and Market. And Laura, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hey Wallace. So I am this year's National Comms and Marketing Chair with my fab vice, yourself, out with young farmers. So I'm pretty similar to Sky. I'm primary school teacher down in Stranraer, and I'm about 3 weeks away from finishing my probationary year, which has been the best year ever. I've absolutely loved it. You will love it, Sky. It's so nice having your own wee class. And then I'm starting at a new school after the summer in Stranraer. So going to meet my new class this week, which I'm very excited about. And I'll then be fully qualified, which will be super. Back home, living on the family farm, I was in Edinburgh back and forward for about 5 years studying, but back home at the Mull of Galloway on a beef and arable farm, me, mum, dad and my granny. The most southerly point in Scotland, basically live in the middle of nowhere, but I absolutely love it. And before I did my teaching, I was doing a journalism degree. So that's kind of where my link for this committee role came from, and worked with Jane Craigie Marketing and a fab team there for about a year and a half, and then got into the teaching. So yeah, that's me.
I have a really random question out of everything you've just said there. But this is kind of, I can see Jane and Ali and Sky and everyone putting their head in their hands. But I was speaking to my mum earlier, who also is called Laura. Random bit of information. And I was speaking to yourself, and I had said that it was the most southerly point in Scotland. And we were trying to guess where. What is the name of the place? What's the name of the nearest place we might have heard of?
It's Isle of Man.
Oh, okay, right, okay. So that's quite tricky. I'm more about on the main
see the Isle of Man from here.
That's a cool fact. I absolutely love when you told me that ages ago. It was probably, I think I might have known that before I knew your name, Laura. Do you know that? It's quite a fun little fact. But yeah, no, we've got quite a lot of different professions in here, and I've probably got a question for both Sky and Laura. What's the crack between the stage you're at right now, Laura, between probation and then you're a teacher? Do you go to the same place you were on probation, or do you have to find somewhere else? How does that work?
So you tick a council where you want to go, and I ticked in Feast and Galloway and was lucky to get it, and then you get placed in a school there for a year, and then you start applying for jobs. So that's the sort of stage I've been at. And then once you've done your probation year, if you pass that, you're fully qualified, and then that's you. So it's been a good year though. I like it. So yeah, they picked me somewhere.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. I want to get stuck in now. It's at the point where I'm ready to go. But Laura and I have laughed a lot over the past couple of years because we've kind of moved through young farmers at very similar stages. So Laura's obviously a year ahead in her teaching than me, which is great because she's an excellent person to text if I'm needing a little hand attention. But also we've been district secretary, at the same time. We were club secretary at the same time, and now we're both national chairs at the same time. So Laura's like the southerly version of me.
The southerly version, brilliant. Have we got a north version? Have we got someone right up north that's the exact same, or is it just you two that are running perfectly in line with each other?
We'll say, take Sally. I can say it's maybe Sally Mayer.
I think, but one thing, listening to that sort of introduction from everyone, and I mean, for those of you listening, I am, I guess, involved somewhat as a vice chair at Comms and Marketing and lecturing. I think it's probably important to mention that, what was that, 7 of us and 5 different jobs. And the reason I'm saying this, and it's probably something I'm going to lead on to for you to talk about, Jane, is young farmers isn't just for farmers. And I think that's the thing that I always was aware of, but didn't realise just the diversity in this club. So we'll maybe get on to that a bit later on, but could you tell us, Jane, about about SAYFC and in particular at a national level?
Yeah, what do you want to know? All of it?
Oh my God, all of it. Go for it. Everything that's in Jane Strawhorn's mind.
Oh no, we don't have enough.
Yep.
I wouldn't put you through that. That was too much. That was too much.
Maybe a jail sentence for a few of us.
That's no. That was reserved for my crazy voice notes that I send to people. So sorry if anyone's ever had one of those. Ali Brunton, Colin. Sally Mayers had one as well recently, bless her.
I actually want to just be part of this crew. I have had them once. Just yeah.
Oh wait, you will have, yes. Sorry, you will have.
Most of it was about baking for anger. But anyway, you continue.
SAYFC, what is this? Do you want to just know like what it is?
Well, I guess the first thing that would be quite good to talk about is what it is. If someone might be listening that hasn't done Young Farmers, there's no idea about it, maybe interested in joining.
Okay, so it is I'm sure lots of people in here will correct me when I'm wrong, because although I was going to say I'm often wrong, not the case. It is the largest rural youth organisation in the country. We have thousands of members from as up north as Shetland to as down as far as, well, Laura. That is the most southern you can get. So this is so cliche. It is not just for those who wear wellies. Anyone can join, whether you need to be between the ages of 14 and 30 to join, and we offer a variety of events and opportunities that suit, I would say, probably everyone. I personally think there is something for absolutely everyone, whether your interests are in agriculture or your interests are more rural based, there's something to cater that. But if you're maybe looking for something a bit different, then we've got sports things, we've got travel opportunities, training courses, things like that. So yep, it is very, very diverse, and there is, like I've just said, something for everyone. So yeah.
And I would say, I would ask you this question, but I'm actually probably going to ask it to a few folk, Jane. Is who here has been in Young Farmers a long time? Who's not been in Young Farmers a long time? Can you just go throw this out to everyone? When did you start with Young Farmers? At what age? And maybe give us a bit about. I see Amy's just unmuted. I'll just because I saw that, I'll ask Amy, and I'll go through everyone. But what age did you start at? And sort of, I guess, what have you got? It sounds like a cliche question, but and we know the answer to this, all of us, but everyone listening doesn't. What have you got, and what opportunities have you had from being in Young Farmers over the time?
Yeah, so I joined Young Farmers at the age of 18. So a lot of my friends and people I've met through Young Farmers were straight in there at 14, but I was actually, as a 14, 15-year-old, really quite shy and a bit like, oh, what is this? I didn't have any family that had ever went to Young Farmers. But anyway, I went along with my friends at 18 and yeah, kind of got stuck in really. I managed to get on the committee that year as their treasurer for Turriff Young Farmers, so up in Aberdeenshire. So that's kind of how I got started. In terms of what I've got out, I think one of the main things is a real increase in confidence, probably. As I said, I was quite a shy, quiet 14-year-old teenager, and I think going along, trying so many different things, like Jane's just said, there really is something for everybody. And I think just getting stuck in and socializing with lots of different people, it really does make people a lot more confident and raise self-esteem. One of the things that I think I would encourage everyone to do is speech making. That was something that I really had to make myself do. I hated public speaking at school. I would avoid it like the plague. If I had to do a talk for school, I would make sure I'm going at lunchtime so I didn't have to do it in front of a class. I really didn't hate public speaking. So I made myself do speech making, and I'm definitely no expert now, but I find it a lot more enjoyable. And yeah, that's something I've really got out, because I think in terms of like speaking in public, like you might think, say as an accountant, I really don't think I'd be doing lots of public speaking. But in my last job, I was doing presentations. I'm here I am on a podcast, which I really didn't think I would ever be on a podcast. So yeah, there's lots of different things, but I think, yeah, definitely it does increase your confidence, or it did certainly for me anyway.
Yes, the speech making is an interesting one, and most people say, do speech making on the basis of it gives you more confidence, whatever. Like you've just said, Amy, I was almost on the other side, that I would say my most confident place is in front of more people than less. I feel quite nervous in front of a few people, but in front of 200, it's just easy because they're not a thing anymore, and that's how I see it in my head. But see, doing speech making, I was awful at it because I've created a career, I guess, off of trying to move about in an entertaining and engaging manner. But I could not do the sort of standing still and be listened to while not being animate and whatever. I really struggled with that, and I learned so much from that as well. I actually think there's probably quite a lot of merit in going around everyone and just seeing the different things that folk have taken from Young Farmers. So, Grant, you seem to have reshuffled in my gallery screen. So tell us about yourself and Young Farmers.
Yeah, probably very similar to Amy. The confidence and everything it's given you is unbelievable. Like, I remember when I was 14, really shy. I didn't know what Young Farmers was, really. I just got a random text from a random number one night saying, I'll pick you up later. And we figured out it was a Tuesday, so it must have been Young Farmers night. And this clapped out Ford Mondale with blacked out windows turned up. And Dad was quite happy for me to get in the car and go with the guy. And it turned out it was a Young Farmers event, so that was fine. Anyway, and that was kind of how I got started. And then it was probably 2 or 3 years till I really kind of started to get what it was all about, Young Farmers, and going out and meeting new people, and the connections you get through it are amazing. And like Jane said, the variety of competitions and things you can do, like there's really something for everyone. I mean, I've tried most of the competitions. I've been rubbish at 90% of them, but I've really enjoyed them, including speech making as well. Wallace, I'm kind of similar to you. I struggled with it, but it was always something I wished I was better at. So no, I definitely the confidence and the friendship you gain out of it, and probably learning like what to be on committees and stuff. Even that, like I've kind of had many roles on a few committees, and just learning to take a bit of leadership going forward, I feel's helped me definitely.
I would just like to quickly interrupt the show for a minute to give you some extra information on our primary sponsors, A-Plan Rural. A-Plan offer bespoke cover for farms and estates the UK over, and we'll give you tailored insurance for anything on the farm, from your old workhorse tractor that's been around 20 years or a fancy new and exciting diversification.
That is not where I thought the start of that story was going, I must say. And moving on from teenagers being picked up by randomers, Sky, development and well-being, very important part of Young Farmers.
There's different times back then.
I've moved on ever so slightly since then. I promise there is a consent form for that now.
Always got the perfect hat on. Love to see it. Away from development and well-being for a minute, Sky. We'll get into that eventually. But yeah, just yourself and Young Farmers. What have you taken from it so far?
Well, I was about 16 before I joined. I was a little bit older. I'm not from a farming background at all. My grandpa worked on a farm, so he was kind of a farm helper out at somewhere close by to us, but that was the only real link to agriculture my family had at all. My dad was a chef, my mum was a mental health nurse. None of my family went to Young Farmers, so it really was a case of all my friends coming to school and saying, oh, I've been at this, we've been playing these sports, or we've been to dances or whatever, and I started to get a bit of the green-eyed monster, and I was like, I want to give that a go. So I said to my friend Lindsay, like, tell me when something's happening, I'd love to come along. And I went and just kind of started getting stuck in. And for me, the one thing I always went and watched before I was part of Young Farmers was the concert. I would love to go and watch the concert with my dad. He loves his like traditional music, and if you've ever been to a bigger concert, it's not a bigger concert without an accordion section. So Dad would always go for that part. And I started just being like, oh well, it's the most, unmatched thing. You would never really put farmers and singing and dancing in the same bracket, but once you come along to these things, you just realize how infectious and how serious they take it as well. And I thought, right, okay, I could join that part. So I got stuck in and I went along to some concert practices, and then the talent spot and things like that. And slowly but surely my singing and dancing got put to good use from being up on the stage, which was really, really good. And then, yeah, I just kind of a few years later joined the committee and started deciding, I decided I really liked that, being involved in the organising and the planning side of things. I think that was maybe the teacher coming out in me. So I spent lots of time on the kind of Biggers committee before I took on the secretary role there. And as far as getting my role as Development and Wellbeing Chair just now, it kind of came about because I was just asking too many questions, really. We had a previous staff member, Sheena, who is from Lanarkshire District, same as me, and I'd been pestering about consent forms and safeguarding. When I was taking on secretary, I was really concerned about the kind of safeguarding risks of our younger members, because obviously we've got that captive age of 14 to like under 18. So I'd kind of been pestering them and asking, what should I be doing? And I don't want to get things wrong. And I worked in a school at the time, so I knew kind of the forms and things that were required. And from there, she basically told me, would you just get a grip and join the Development and Wellbeing Committee? You need to get along to this meeting because you know what you want and you know how to get it. So yeah, I kind of blabbed my way onto the committee, and then here we are.
Isn't that the position we're all in?
I think we're all guilty of that.
And for those of you listening, there's very few people, I'd say everyone in here is able to comment on this, but there's very few people able to comment on just how much you can do as a member. Certainly this year, it's Skye Watson, because she is currently our Member of the Year. Could you tell us a bit about what that involves, Skye?
Yeah, again, as a non-farming kind of outsider, never in a million years did I think that was a role that I was going to take right after Ali. Ali was the Member of the Year before me. So it started, you kind of went to your first level of interview, nice dress, that kind of jazz. And it was in this tiny little dressing room cupboard, is the best way to describe where my first Member of the Year interview was, because speech making, funnily enough, was also going on at the same time, so they kind of linked it in. And we were in this box cupboard with the 3 judges, one of which was a past national chair, and they kind of fired a lot of questions at me, and I just was like, well, if I answer them well, great. If I don't, I don't. And only one person from each district got to go through to the national final. So I thought there was amazing people at that Lanarkshire elimination. So I just kind of went in, and there I go again, blagged my way, chatted my way through it. Lots of the questions were about your involvement, things that you do. So I was fortunate enough that I could speak a lot about development and wellbeing. I'm our current Lanarkshire District Secretary just now as well, so I could speak a lot about that, which was really exciting. And then, yeah, I won, which was a great surprise. Went through to the national final, which was on National Weekend away at Carlisle. Did the same again, chatted my way through it, spoke about all the things I'm really passionate about in young farmers, and then was absolutely blown away when I found out that night that I had won. I was really, really chuffed and didn't really see it coming, because if you'd asked 14-year-old me if I'd be anything to do with young farmers, I'd have said, what's that? Let alone being able to represent the organisation as their National Member of the Year.
No, well, I mean, obviously very well deserved. Obviously, it was quite, I watched the Facebook Live because I think at that point I was like, oh, suddenly I'm on Young Farmers Committees and I've barely been here a year. I should probably try and learn what goes on. And no, it was really cool to watch, Laura, could you give us your sort of account of what you've done in Young Farmers and what it's offered you?
Yeah, so I was one of the members that sort of grew up with Young Farmers in my family. So Mum and Dad met at Young Farmers Dance, Granny and Grandpa met at Young Farmers Dance, Auntie and Uncle met at Young Farmers Dance. So my whole family have been involved in Young Farmers. My dad was treasurer for the same club as me, so I'm Stranraer and Rins. And basically, as soon as I got my new members letter through when I was 14, I was straight along, and that was me really. Coming into my 11th year now, I've been in Stranraer and Rins, and when I was 16, joined the committee, and I've been on the committee since, and then started taking on office bearer roles, like secretary, assistant treasurer, and then started moving into D&G. Quite similar to Skye, I just love the planning and the organisation side of things, constantly having like a little Young Farmers to-do list every week of different things happening. And I think a big thing for me was seeing what you can get out of it for your careers. So like my journalism probably stemmed from, I took on press convener for my club, and I hadn't really done anything like that ever before, and I just thought I'll give it a go, and turned out I really enjoyed that, and that's what made me consider journalism. And then again, applying for my teaching, things like your speech making, and that was absolutely brilliant. So I'm quite passionate about going into primary and secondary schools down here to speak about that, and trying to take speech making demos and things into schools so that we can see what it's about, and everybody's desperate to join. Like I was sort of waiting for you to become 14. I was absolutely desperate to get started. But yeah, that's sort of how I got into it. And I think it's the friendships as well. It's going on an exchange. I've been in quite a few over to Ireland, and it's the people you meet, and then you'll meet them at the Highland Show, and you'll meet them at local shows, and then you'll meet them again throughout the year. I think that's a big thing for me. It's who you meet. It's the experiences that you get out of it as well.
The social friendship side, or your whole family tree side, Laura, is so nice. Like, I mean, I moved here 2 years ago, and I've never been someone that struggles to meet people. But when you're coming to a new place, you don't know how to move in, whatever. Like, I came to a couple of events, and suddenly I had 6 or 7 good friends that I still have to this day, and that's at 25, 26. Seeing the younger members in the club as well, like, I wish I had that at that age. And I hold my hand up pretty openly, and I've said a few times, I was never anti-young farmers, but I was like, I just don't get it. I don't get the deal. When I was that age, I was at uni, and I guess you could say my uni was young farmers, and that was fine. But I don't think I regret it. I just maybe should have tried it before, and I would encourage anyone sort of we've got 14, 16, 18, 25, whatever in here for the time of joining to get involved. The last two people to ask about their sort of time in young farmers is the two head teachings in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say whichever one of you would like to speak first, to let's see how they work together. Yeah, eternal silence now. We'll never hear anyone talk.
Ali can go first.
Oh, wow.
I'm in shock. I suppose I was pretty similar to Laura. Both my grandparents were members of East Fife. Mum and Dad were both members of East Fife. Both my uncles were members of East Fife. I kind of didn't really have much of a choice. Both my older sisters joined the club and then dragged me along once I turned 14, 15, basically. Didn't get a huge amount of choice in that, but I wouldn't really, to be honest, I wouldn't have it any other way, because it's, I think I've been a member of East Fife for over 10 years now, which is terrifying to think about. But yeah, it's probably been one of, I mean, what I've gained in those 10 years is, it's massive. From, I suppose, at a young age, similar to Amy, getting dragged along to speech making practices because my dad was a speech making coach. Never something I really wanted to do, but kind of just got forced into it. But if I didn't do it then, I probably wouldn't be where I am right now. So definitely glad I did it. I wouldn't have had the ability to stand up in front of or stand up and sort of lead a meeting, or stand up in front of a group of people, and no, it's definitely it's a skill that you'll carry right through life, and I'm glad I did it. Other aspects of young farmers I've gained from, I mean, I've always been pretty sporty, so that was one of the things I did enjoy when I was younger, was getting involved in the sport, going on to hockey practices and or going on to hockey competitions and taking out a few ankles at the same time, that kind of thing. And then one aspect of young farmers that I've kind of, I've been pretty massively involved in, was the Agri Fairs. So when I finished uni, or in my last year of uni, I kind of decided that I was coming home to the farm, and realising that I hadn't studied agriculture, there was a lot I had to learn. So I kind of got stuck in with the Agri Fairs, and then I was speaking to our current, the Fife and Kinross district rep on the committee at the time, which was Ian Collins, and he said, he was actually looking to come off the committee, and basically that was it. I was on the committee as the Fife and Kinross rep, and then I've kind of always thought that if there's something that you want to learn or something you want to do, just go ahead and make it kind of happen. So one thing I knew absolutely nothing about was how to look at a set of accounts, or in terms of the farm business was how to understand the accounts or the finances behind it. So that was one thing I pushed when I was East Agri chair, was spoke to my accountant from Johnson Carmichael and set up a sort of a 3-session accounts training with them, which was actually quite well attended and has since gone out across the 3 regions. And I gained loads from that, and it's helped me on the farm at home, having more of a say in the decision making on the farm, which was good. And then lucky enough to then jump up to National Agri Affairs chair, and at the same time was East Fife chair in the same year, which was quite a busy year. And it was a year we came out of COVID as well, so there was quite a lot going on. I think Dad got a wee bit frustrated at times because it kind of took me away from the farm at times. But his mum and dad are pretty good because they're both past members, and they know how much you gain from young farmers. They were pretty happy for me to go for that. And same this year, going on as national vice chair. They've been pretty supportive, which is good. I'm quite lucky that way.
I was just going to say the point there about getting the accountant and to have a chat with that. It's like there's quite a lot of autonomy for us, and I don't mean us as people at national level. I mean us as members to be like, well, this is cool, or this is something like you said that I really need more on, and chances are there's going to be other folk in that position. Let's try and arrange that. Just seen quite a lot of, which is good. And you said about learning to speak in front of folk. One thing, I've never been so impressed at someone as when yourself and Jane were doing that little video up at the showground last month. And I mean, for those of you that don't know, or for those of you that are listening, if you haven't seen it, it's on Instagram. Like Jane said, we're coming to Highland Show, threw the phone up, and then Ali had to throw the phone up, and I was going to try and put it together in my absolutely rubbish video editing fashion. But Ali had this extremely difficult speech to say where it was like dates and numbers and when things were happening, whatever. And he got it the first time, but he did try about 55 times to catch the phone. No, you're saying as if you didn't, but Jane, you'll back me up. The first time he caught it, he got it perfect. But catching the phone was the biggest challenge. So like that in itself, speaking to a camera, and I'm saying this as someone that does it all the time, like I know I can do it because I've done it forever, but the first time or the first few times is a really, really daunting thing. And especially with Jane and I, obviously Jane being judgmental right next to you, it was pretty impressive. Jane, last but no means least, obviously, again, tell us what you've sort of got from young farmers. And actually, I'm almost going to ask you to tell one story that you might be planning on anyway, but you sort of use the you don't need to be scared, Jane, it's you run the joint. The sort of comparison between yourself and Ailey and the fact that you both got major things out of it, but completely different. Yeah.
Yep. So I don't know where to start. So I joined Crossroads Young Farmers when I was, and I'm just like you and Ali, Crossroads. I don't.
Apparently in Kilmarnock, they don't have the ability to talk about junctions correctly without saying it quickly.
Unbelievable. Anyway,
you don't say roundabouts.
Crossroads Young Farmers. When I was 14, so I will have been a member for 14 years now. And I think I'm kind of in the same vein in the sense that it was pretty much don't bother getting too much into any other hobbies, because when you hit 14, you're going to go to Young Farmers and that's going to be your full life until you're 30. My parents were both members of the same club that I'm in. My grandparents were in a club that doesn't actually exist anymore. So it's always been when I was growing up, I would go to the rally, the Ayrshire Rally, which has happened for years now. I would go to concerts. Like there was no other path, although I'm very grateful for it because I can't see myself ever doing anything else now. Although I'll need to start thinking of something because it's getting closer to that kind of time. maybe just relax for a couple of years because I'm so highly strung with it all the time.
I'm almost certain you won't do that.
Well, I know, me too, but maybe if I say it enough times, I'll maybe think about it at least. But yeah, I think in Young Farmers, there's not really been much I haven't done. I'm a very competitive person, so the competition element is just chef's kiss for me. I love being able to compete in things. And also, I always, whenever I'm organising anything, I never feel fully confident in organising an event unless I've taken part in it. So I've always tried to do things maybe out of my comfort zone, like cattle dressings and things like that, which maybe aren't necessarily, don't get me wrong, like I've come from a dairy farm, like, so it's not completely alien to me, but if my dad, I remember the first time going to see my dad, was doing cattle dressing, and he was laughed his way. He was like, Lorraine, listen to this. It was the most ridiculous thing he'd ever heard. So yeah, obviously it's me, I've got a younger sister, Ailey, and like you were saying, my favourite comparison is like, and again, it's a good one for young farmers, is that you can give like every part of your soul and your being to it and do what I do and become like your club secretary, chairman, district, regional, and then obviously I'm national chair just now. Or you can do like what Ailey does, which is sometimes do concert, travel all the time with young farmers, things like that. Like there's so many different, which is why I like it, I think, as well, because you make it suit you and what you want. Like you don't have to be at several million meetings every single night of the week. You can have like a nice balance of doing things you really enjoy and making sure that you get out of young farmers exactly what you want. Like don't scunner yourself with it, because then you'll ruin it for yourself. So yeah, I call Ailey a social member because of that, which is not a bad thing, but she's definitely like I'm going to India for a month this year, whereas I'm taking a week's holiday to go to the Highland Show and work. So like they're so different. So yeah, I think that's me.
It's the competitive side is an interesting one, because I don't have that at all. I just don't have it. And like Elspeth Purdy and Ed Martin were like trying to battle it out of me for talent spot. It was probably good I ended up breaking my shoulder, but yeah, I just don't have it. But still, there's so many things that I can enjoy, like a concert, taking the utter piss out yourself. Like, there's so much to do. Yeah,
I just love competing in things. I just love competition, which is so bad.
But you've won loads of things as well, at national level, at every level, really. So it makes sense.
Don't say that. That makes
go
me
on. Tell us your. For those watching on YouTube that can't see Ali at the minute, he's doing the chewing the fat thing. Jane, tell us everything you've won at national level.
I've won quiz, and then I've won handicrafts 3 times at national level, and I've won a special prize at national for my handicrafts.
Is that Ian special, or what was that for?
No, it's so each item, the highest marked item gets a purple certificate. So I've got all the colours for handicrafts at national.
That's pretty cool, in fairness.
Yeah. So, I like healthy competition. I like the team element of it. It's nice. I just like competition. So
I just want to quickly apologise, because I realise I've just realised I said because you were special. I meant in a nice way. That did not sound good.
Of course.
Who else has won things at national level? Go on. Shout out everything you've won at national level, everyone.
This is cute Ali Brunton telling us he's won National Member of the Year. Here we go.
Oh, we've got someone else that can say that.
And me.
So we've got 2 National Members of the Year in here. Anyone else won at national level?
Carlan.
Curling? Sorry.
Dodgeball.
What was your intro, Grant? I curl, but I'm not very good at it.
All right. But neither's anyone else in Young Farmers, so that helps. I'm joking.
Wow. Just called it. I would like to say I'm a Cornets Club curling champion. Thank you very much, Grant. I probably should say I was 2 professionals and I didn't know what I was doing, but I still won. Anyway, did someone say something else?
Dodgeball.
Dodgeball? I didn't know there was dodgeball.
Once and only competition.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Not going to argue with you on it.
They never
You're
had
not
it again because Ali won.
Must have lost the trophy.
So just to confirm, Jane, you're not going to argue on it on what grounds?
Wait a minute. What did you just say about a lost trophy, Ali?
I was
Oh
joking.
God. Oh God. Here we go.
God, she'll be up my door soon.
I know that's that. Write that down in the National News report. So I think the point of that was I didn't actually really intend on doing what we just did there, but for those listening, it's quite cool to see just what different people from completely different occupations, and a lot of you started well before you had occupations when you were still in school, what you can get from it. But I guess that the real point of this podcast became sort of talking about, am I saying this right, Jane? It's sort of had a restructure, SAYFC. Is that the right way of putting it?
Yes, that is correct, Wallace.
Is that right, or have I said that wrong?
I just, please don't ask me, because I always get the jargon wrong for this. So we used to be...
Well, maybe Ali would like to take over then.
Wallace? What? Yeah, this would be a good test to see if he's been listening, because he's just joined this, because he had a gap year. He came off as Agri chair, and then he's had a gap year. So yeah, Ali, take it away.
Tell us what happened after your gap year.
It was only 5 months, but basically we used to have a national council, which sat kind of above the regional committees. We never used to have development and wellbeing, competition events, finance. It was all just discussed as one big national council, which, to be fair, it did work, but we were needing to change something, and kind of streamline the committees a wee bit, and have a bit more of a focus on each one, and people that were genuinely interested in each aspect of it on that committee, as opposed to someone who was interested in competitions being on national council and having to sit and listen to finance or development and wellbeing, which they weren't interested in. Not that finance and development and wellbeing aren't interesting. I've sat on both committees and are both very interesting.
Well saved, well saved.
But yeah, we basically just had one national council that discussed everything, and there was people who had aspects that they were interested in, but a lot of it they weren't. So yeah, now initially we split it up into each committee, and then we've now sort of done a second stage restructure this year. So we've now got the senior leadership team, which is the chairs of each of these committees, and the vices. So we've now got finance committee, international travel, development and wellbeing, comms and marketing, competitions and events, agri and rural affairs, and I think that's it. Plus the 3 regions. I've missed one.
I thought you got them all there.
I did, yeah, right.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Plus, we've still got, so the sort of regional and district setup hasn't changed. We've still got east, west, and north, and the districts and club level. So grassroots members probably won't see a huge change in how how Young Farmers is for them, but the change at national will filter down and make it easier, or make the experience better for grassroots members, and it allows the continuity of SAYFC over a longer term period. So that's the way I would see it.
Just to pick up on one thing there, and correct me if I might have picked you up wrong, Ali, was as it is now, like you're calling Gillian and it's Sally. I never met North and Sally. Are they in that level before that wasn't the case? Is that right? Were they beneath the national, or were they still involved?
No. Regional was still part of national council. That was basically what national council was. You had, agri affairs was always there. We always had an agri rural affairs committee, But your national council was reps that were put forward from the 3 regions. So we didn't have any of the subcommittees that we have now. So it was just the people that turned up to regional committee meetings were basically put forward to national council. And they might have had no interest in certain aspects of it, but they were fairly committed members at a regional level and had a good idea of how Young Farmers was run. So they were pushed to national. And that was basically what national council was. Whereas now, yeah, it's a bit more specific, and people that are interested or have an interest in certain areas have a focus on that area now, which is good.
Sky, we can't hear you, but you're not on mute.
Hello?
There we go, yeah.
Sorry, I'm just chiming in. I was just thinking, like, with the older structure, you kind of had to do that working your way up. You had to go through your district and through your region to get to ever being on national council, and it took you like that kind of step by step to get there. And I don't think I'd ever got there. However, I was able to show my passion and my interest for safeguarding, for well-being, for the training elements within Young Farmers, and that kind of shot me straight from club secretary up to be able to do something that I was really passionate about at national level. So I think the restructures really helped us to have like more a wider kind of input, and for grassroots members to be able to say, well, actually I have a real interest in finance and I've got a skill set in finance, and they can then go direct to that to really benefit the organisation. And I think we'll all agree it really has made a huge difference. Likes of yourself as well, coming quite fresh in to your club, but we've been able to like harvest your skills, and I think the restructures, definitely that's been the biggest benefit of it so far anyway.
Well, you took my next joke away. I was going to say there is a downside. Then you've got people like me that have been here for like 3.5 weeks on that.
Not at all.
Wallace, the only thing I would chime in that is that, and it's off the back of what Sky said, just a thought that I've had, is that traditionally, if you wanted to be national vice chair, national chair, you would have normally have been a regional chair. So you would normally have had to, not had to have been, but you would normally have been west, east or north chair. Whereas now it's just opening the pool up, because just because now obviously I was west chair last year, but that doesn't mean necessarily that I'm better placed than someone else to do this role. And for example, Ali hasn't been east chair. He's been National Agri Rural Affairs chair, but it just means it opens the pool up, because there's going to be plenty of people that would be perfect for these kind of roles we just don't know about yet. So it's just, opens the pool up, broadens opportunities for everyone.
I think that's good. I mean, it's probably fair to say someone like yourself who has been West Chair or has been East Chair, has been North Chair or whatever, they're going to have a bit up in that regard, but there might be something else that someone else might have been in chairing meetings or doing whatever in their job or whatever. Like I think that the old system maybe protected is maybe not the word, but it almost channeled so there couldn't be any issues. But what the new system means is, yes, there's maybe a chance of that, but you've got such a chance to bring in so much more sort of expertise and whatnot, which I think's exciting for SAYFC in itself.
Absolutely. I mean, and we've changed the process of how you get on committees. So in order to get on as a committee member, you have to submit everyone here probably has had to have done it. You had to submit a form as to why you should be on it, and then that's voted on by, because obviously our organisation is member led, so who's going on these committees is up to the members. So it is just really about getting the right people, and I do think by doing it this way we have got the best possible people on these committees, because as Ali and Sky have said, you have to be interested to go through. Not everyone's going to fill out a form just for the sake of maybe getting on a committee that they're not interested in. Like, if you're interested in it, you're going to go to the effort to fill out the form, put yourself forward. Some of them had to speak at their AGMs and stuff to say why, on top of the form, why else should they be put forward. So it is really about getting the best people. And the thing is, we've got so many members with so many skills, careers, people at university, college, apprenticeships, things like that are going to bring so much to the table, and it's just about opening doors for them and being like, we have this committee that's specifically for development and wellbeing, you'd be perfect for that. Like just making sure we're giving the opportunities to the members, because that's the most important thing at the end of the day.
That's really a critical point. That, I mean, in here we obviously have the future national vice, future national chair, but we also might have someone in here that's the future national vice chair, and there's some fantastic people in here, as you guys will probably know better than me, but even I know in the last few months, and it's nice that that's not just an impossibility because of the way the rungs have been climbed. I've got one last question for you, Jane, before we sort of go into just having each person say what their committee does. What was the jump from regional? Yep, always mix up district and regional. From regional chair to national chair, like, is it a different job, or is it actually quite similar?
I think it's quite different. It's good. It's just very different. I probably would have gotten on better if I hadn't stacked West Chair and National Vice, because I felt like I was kind of split in the middle a wee bit. That being said, it's not impossible. What hindsight is a wonderful thing. Hindsight, I probably would have waited. Penny would love to hear that. Yeah, it's really good. National is just so big, like, and you always think like Scotland's like a really small country, but really to get to like where I am, and I'm quite handy where I am in the motorway. I'm 20 minutes below Glasgow. Like I'm not in the middle of nowhere. But it's still hard. Like I need to, and I love planning things anyway, so it's not that bad, but it's very much a case of being on top of my diary. To be fair, I have kind of put a lot of things in the back burner this month because it's Highland Show, and I feel like my focus should be on Highland Show because it is one of, if not the biggest events for national, or just for young farmers in general this year. It's a balancing act, like having to pick and choose what I go to, being realistic with my time. Sometimes I just want to scream because I'm like, I don't think people realise sometimes, like, you cannot tell me half an hour before a meeting that you've got a meeting tonight. You can't do that because I can't, like, I had someone recently sat in the middle of a district meeting messaging me at 8 o'clock at night, can I have your report? And I'm like, you tell me it's on and I'll try. If you tell me, I'll go to things. I'd love to go to things, but I just need to be told a bit more in advance. So yeah, it's amazing. It's been amazing so far, but I think I say that, ask me again in like 6 months, because right now has just been Highland Show, and I've been letting like West, East and North kind of crack on with things and just do what they need to do before the show. And then after that, I feel like I'm just gonna have this big weight off my shoulders and I'm gonna be like, right, where am I going? I can't wait. Like, invite me to all your events and things and I'll be there and do whatever you need to do. But no, it is a big jump, but it's also that kind of, for so long, I have been so blinkered with Crossroads, just saying that right, thanks, Ayrshire and West, but now I've got like, it's just like blinkers are off and it's just like the full picture, which is really good, like it's fab. And also I did a wee bit of that last year being National Vice, but it's good. It's just very different to anything I've ever done before, but it's fab. So
it's amazing skill though. I mean, to be honest, probably the level all of us are at is an amazing skill for the CV, you know. And it's if you're considering young farmers as more than just young farmers, like out with that, it's yeah, amazing for that. And I mean that at being solely a member at club level as well, you know. Yeah,
I always say to people, like, there's so many things you can put in your CV and they don't actually do it, and then they sit down and think about it and they're like, oh, actually, like being a member, like the amount of stuff you do, and it's not, you always think when you're things in your CV needs to be like volunteering, like charity work, which is great, fine, but there's so many things in young farmers, I guess. There's so many things in young farmers that you do and you don't think of that, like apply to like college applications, uni applications, writing your CV, things like that. And it's just encouraging them to be confident enough to be like, actually, that is a really important thing you've done. Put that in your CV.
Yeah, uni applications is an interesting one. I mean, the thing that's blown me away, having joined as a lecturer and not having seen the bit before that, really, is how amazingly professional some of the 15-year-olds are.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is insane. Like, I was still learning to walk at that stage, it's mental to see the stage these guys are. Some of you might say I'm still at that stage, but it's brilliant in that sense. But I mean, the reason to sort of do this podcast was to sort of talk about each site, each committee, and what's involved. And we are already 64 minutes in, so we better get to that. It does fly by when you're having fun. I'm going to be very what's the word? Selfish. I'm gonna jump to Laura first for the committee that I'm actually involved in, just so I can throw that in there that I'm actually important as well. But Laura, could you tell us a bit about comms and marketing and what the role of that team is?
Yeah, so comms and marketing is basically we are there to promote SAYFC and our members and our clubs, and to help them gain confidence and the skills to be able to promote what they're doing. So you'll know, being my advice for us, that we've just rolled out social media training. So we are sort of there to support our members and give them things that can help them. So we're showing them like apps for video editing, and how to sort of promote themselves like professionally as well, because we do want to gain new members as much as possible. So how to like promote SAYFC in a positive light. We're looking to produce press packs as well. So it's like the social media side of it, but also the press side of it as well. So trying to help, I thought I was off there. Trying to help members contact the press and be able to actually promote what they've done. So that's probably with my journalism side, I'm quite keen to do this year, because it can be really daunting thinking, how do I even start with that? But trying to get clubs to contact their little small papers and then building themselves up so that they can do that. And yeah, basically also trying to promote like our national committee members this year and that whole new sort of restructure. But just helping clubs and members know how to showcase what we're doing, because at the end of the day, that's how we're going to gain new members in, and we're going to promote all the fab things that everyone's doing. But I'm loving being chair of it so far this year. Really looking forward to the Highland Show. We're in the middle of getting our rota sorted for members that are coming to film and things, which is really exciting. And like again, we've got members that aren't on national committees coming to help do that. So I think it's going to be really nice getting a big group of people from all over together. Everyone's getting a chance to get involved, which is good. And yeah, working on yourself, Wallace, so it's going good.
Everything's got a downside. It's been really interesting. I mean, your sort of side of things is journalism and press based, sort of newspaper, that side of things, as well as sort of social media. It's been quite cool to combine the two of you and I, and then now sort of this week we'll be able to have like an in-person chat with a few of the team to sort of hear what they can bring to it as well. I always think it's better in person, but it's just so cool to share this sort of best practice over the clubs and regions and stuff and see how different folk are doing it, which I know will be the same as everyone else that we're just about to ask. So purely because you just for some reason disappeared and popped back for a wee second there, Grant, do you want to tell us about the competitions and events side of things?
It basically does what it says in the tin, competitions and events. We're kind of in charge of all the competitions and events that are run throughout Young Farmers. So it's just trying to make sure that they're fresh and they're what the members want, taking on board feedback and stuff about rules that can be changed or need to be changed, or for going with the times and stuff like that. I found it really interesting anyway. Like I said, I did loads of competitions when I was younger, and now just kind of able to put your own spin on it and give back a wee bit the knowledge you've gained. Also get to be the 5-star awards, deciding the awards that are given out of that and stuff, which it's quite interesting trying to revamp them a wee bit this year to be more in line with what's happening in the world. And that when it first came out, it was kind of designed towards COVID, and now it's trying to kind of move off that and really push the awards forward and be something exciting that people want to enter. And I love it. I've done it for 3 years now, so I've quite enjoyed being on the committee.
Were you vice chair last year?
They never had a vice chair last
Oh,
year.
did
They got a chair, and I managed to nick in this year.
Got you. Are you involved, like, sort of with I guess the comedy side and the event side at all, or not really?
How do you mean?
Well, you'll obviously be part of the event, but are you involved in the organising of it?
Yeah. Or when I go and do it. No, not really. I prefer someone else to organise it, and I just turn up and do my wee bit and go home.
But you'll learn a lot from how that goes as well.
Yeah, well, you work with people and you kind of learn. It's quite a lot of work in that. And no, I prefer to kind of be back a wee bit from that than now till I get better.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I understand the young farmers and how it works. I'd rather kind of work when they means and help where I can.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I guess important for all of it, and one person I really, well, not one, but it's the only person that's not the case at all, but one discussion I really enjoyed having was with you, Sky, about sort of the rules with GDPR and inclusivity and whatnot from an SAYFC perspective, because you're working with someone that can be 14 and someone that can be 30, making sure that's sort of a cohesive unit that's a safe space for everyone, and that's really important. So could you tell us sort of a bit about the role of development and wellbeing in the organisation?
Of course, yeah. So the Razzle Dazzle Committee, of course, the most exciting one. We often do get the title of, sometimes we've kind of got the hard slog in the sense that it's lots of policy driven, it's lots of paperwork, it's lots of maybe being a bit of a fun sponge and taking away the fun for the junior members to an extent. But I think for a long time there was SAYFC, the young members were getting to attend lots of things that you wouldn't be able to attend in the big bad world under the age of 18. So we do lots of how can we get them involved, but how can we be safe while we're doing it? So we are involved with writing the safeguarding policies, we've got behaviour policy, we've got all that kind of thing. And if there's any issues or any sort of disclosures come forward from clubs or from secretaries or whatever, they know that they can come to us or they can send us a little email, and we'll show them the kind of correct procedures and policies that we would follow in order to do anything that's maybe a bit untoward, which is the not so nice part. But the really nice part is that we get to help everyone. We get to help the secretaries, we get to help the clubs, the chairs, and I think it's good for everybody to know that there's a place they can come to if things maybe aren't following the path that they would like them to. We're there with the paperwork and the documentation ready to sign on the dotted line.
That's here, it's absolutely so important, and I think the thing that I like, specifically speaking to just you and Abby, because it's only the two I've spoke to about it, is you say that it's maybe not the fun part, but I think you make it fun, you make it intriguing, you make folk actually, oh well, this is actually interesting, I kind of want to have a chat about this, and you and I had a chat for about 2 hours that night about it, and it's I think it's so important. The thing I was just going to ask and maybe jump on there was, if there's anyone listening that's in young farmers, it's maybe a good thing to know. Is there, you said about email, is there an email that you can sort of get in touch and it's sort of like no one has to see it apart from the person that's getting that email in the committee, that sort of thing? Is that how, is that a thing?
So we all have our own kind of chair emails, but for anyone who wanted to get in touch with me about anything kind of development wise, or even if they're looking for a new training opportunity. So I know I've kind of mentioned the doom and gloom side of things, but also we're there to provide any and all training that members want access to, and that doesn't have to be agriculture or young farmers related. We are happy to go out on a wide search for anything that people really feel a need for, think there's going to be an audience for. So to get in touch with me, it would be developmentchair@sayfc.org, and it would come direct to me. Or if you're looking for vice, if you want to go to Abby, she'd be development vice chair at sayfc.org, and yeah, all that comes straight to us, and we would love to hear from people, whether it be good stories of we've had this incident but this is how we handled it, because we love to share good practice, or whether it just be I really fancied getting some training in defibrillator. Pick the hardest word there to say.
You did defibrillator.
Why did I pick that word? Defibrillators. And we'd be like, great, let's get on it. Let's do it part of your region or part of your district. So that's really good. And another huge thing we do from our committee is we have got the Are You OK campaign, which it really focuses on mental health and wellbeing in the rural community and young farmers, but also wider, which is an excellent kind of campaign that's been started. It's been going for a few years now. And if you go on to the SAYFC website, you can follow the link directly to it, which gives you all the kind of information and signposting you might need for supporting mental health, which is a really, really good campaign to be part of.
No, it's brilliant. It's one, I mean, I obviously was aware of young farmers, but I had nothing to do with it. And I was very much aware of it, even though I wasn't at all involved in young farmers.
Just happy.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And that you mentioned a really good point there. I don't know if this is me personally or if this is a thing that I assume if I do it, other folk will. When I hear development and well-being, I jump solely to that mental health side. But that development side, like you said, training there, is a massive part. Like there's so many opportunities in that sense as well, which is brilliant.
It's an aim for us this year. We're really focusing on the training, because every year we host like an office bearer training. Obviously no one just knows how to be a chair, no one just knows how to be a secretary, so we facilitate the office bearer training that happens every year, either just before the start of AGM season or just kind of as it's complete. And we're trying a lot of new things this year, so we're hoping, fingers crossed, if it all goes well, to implement all our training online and make it more engaging, more accessible, but also remembering that this is people's voluntary time. Like they love these roles because they love their club, or they love these roles because they love that sport, but maybe not necessarily because they want to sign up to 4 or 5 hours of training. We want to make it accessible, engaging, and still get across all the points that we need it to get across. And we think a digital platform is going to be a really good and kind of new innovative way to do that. We know lots of other businesses and companies do that as well, so we're kind of picking and borrowing ideas, and the committee are really branching out to see how we can do that for our members.
No, brilliant. Love to hear it. And it's a thing that I think quite a lot of organisations could take from. I was really impressed when I saw what was going on in this side of things, and that's a member-led sort of, yes, it's a business, but member-led thing. It's not like normal organisations, if you will, and I'm working with a lot of other organisations that I think take quite a lot from what's happening. So no, it's good to hear. You said you think you might have the sort of hardest paperwork-based side of things. I would argue there's someone that might dispute that, and we're just about to speak to her now. Yeah. We can't do any of this without money, and like you said, Ali, to have us look at a set of accounts and whatnot was something that you wanted to see, and I'll be honest, that side of things, I would like to think I'm all right with numbers and understand that side of things quite a bit, but I learned pretty quickly after about 48 hours in Amy's company, well, not just Amy's company, all of our companies that weekend, that I did not. So yeah, Amy, could you tell us a bit about finance and the role you guys are playing?
Yeah, definitely. I think, as you just said, just like any other charity, SAYFC finance is kind of underpinning everything that we kind of do in a way. It's really important, and as a finance committee we have really quite a large remit. I look at that remit and I kind of see it in like 2 different areas. So first one being thinking of member support. Sky just touched on it. Is there any treasurer training? Is there financial, if any clubs are struggling financially, what support as a finance committee we can provide them? So we kind of split up our remit in terms of that whole member led, what we can do for our members, and at club level. The other side is as looking at the finances of SAYFC as an organisation. So headline kind of remit, it is safeguarding SAYFC finance. That is what we are aiming to do at our committee meetings. So that covers, looking at our annual accounts. They're audited. As a committee, we approve the annual budget. We review financials like our management accounts. We've got cash flows. So we've got various different things that we look at that are just staples on our finance committee meeting agendas. We also have part of our remit is looking at our income generation and strategy. So SAYFC, we have various different income streams, whether that be membership fees, and looking at what level we're going to set our membership fees for the coming year. There's sponsorship opportunities, and there's also fundraising side of things. So this year, I've kind of set myself some chairs objectives, and one of them is to look at some new fundraising initiatives. So we've got coming up in July, we've got our SAYFC cycling from A to B, which I'm glad to hear that Grant has signed up, and I know Ali has too. So the 3 of us, along with about 15 of us all together, will be setting off from Aviemore on the 20th of July and cycling over 3 days down to Bigger Show. And we'll be raising money for SAYFC and also the charity RSABI. So that'll be exciting. It's there many years ago, probably about 8 years ago now, there was a cycling event that Young Farmers did, and it was a big success. So we decided to kind of bring it back, make it part of our fundraising initiatives, but also, you know, the members that get involved will really hopefully get a lot from it as well. So really looking forward to that.
I mean, that sounds brilliant. The cycle sounds class. How many have you got for that? Have you got an idea numbers?
Yeah, there's 15 of us all together. So yeah, so we'll be setting off on the 20th of July. So I need to get my helmet on and get cycling.
What distance is that, out of interest?
So altogether it will be about 160 miles.
That's amazing.
So yes, over the 3 days. So yeah, looking forward to it.
You have also just reminded me of something. And we'll speak about this after the podcast, but I was going to do a fundraiser for two places you've just mentioned, SAYFC and RSABI. I've got RSABI involved. I've completely forgot to mention to you, so I should probably do that. And it is, funnily enough, on the exact same date. But I'll have a chat with you, see if it's something you want to do after. Yeah, one thing I absolutely love, that your finance has been a thing in my job. Like, it's not something I see. Like my sort of choices and my whatever, yes, they have financial repercussions, obviously. I just don't see them. And it was really interesting to sort of be part of that. Well, not personally, but hear what your discussions are that you're having. And I did quite like when Lewis came into the air show tent and sort of stamped on the floor and said, just making sure this is worth the money. That's like brilliant, making every decision count. There is two other committees left, and I don't know what the best way to do this is, but we'll start with Agri and Rural Affairs. I think probably the best thing is to sort of put it out to people that have been involved. One thing I can sort of put in, plug for Agri and Rural Affairs, is their chair, John McCulloch, is looking at, and maybe by the time of release of this podcast, starting his own podcast. Now, this is not something I'm scared to plug, don't worry, I'm not angry at the competition or anything like that. A wee bit, John, but it's fine. No, they're starting their own Agri and Rural Affairs podcast, which is hopefully looking to bring folk from what I assume is just Scottish agriculture, but I don't know specifically. So check out, I guess, well, not I guess, the social media side of SAYFC for that. And Laura and I, along with the team, will make sure whenever that comes out that we're pushing that. So yeah, more food and farming content and that side of things. But I think, Ali, were you the best to speak on this side of things? You've obviously been chair before, so tell us a wee bit about what Agri and Rural do.
So I would always say Agri and Rural Affairs is kind of like the political voice of young farmers. We give our members a voice at one of the big parts of it is lobbying with government and engaging with government on policy, engaging with NFU Next Gen, NFU Scotland, and also other external stakeholder groups, such as we've got members that sit on government stakeholder groups. We've got members sit on likes of the QMS Red Meat Resilience Group. So yeah, we're engaging with government and the industry to give young farmers a voice on, or to hopefully shape the future of Scottish agriculture, is where we see it. And that's come a long way in the last few years. I think, I think I've been on the committee 5 or 6 years now. Initially, it was a pretty hard slog, trying to be heard, I suppose. But now, I think our voice carries a bit of weight. We can say, we've 3,500 members, and we're representing those members. It's a big voice within Scottish agriculture, so it has got a bit of weight behind it now, and they want to know what we've got to say, which is good. And it's good that we've managed to get to that point, but there's still work to be done there. Other aspects of the Agri Affairs Committee, working with development and wellbeing on training. I've spoken about the accounts training, which is quite different from the accounts training or the sort of treasurer training you get within the office bearer. It's more sort of business specific, farm specific accounts training. It's slightly different, same idea, looking at accounts, but which is good. It's been pretty well received over the last few years. Also got farm safety training, so working with the Farm Safety Foundation, Gail Wellies, as some people might know them. Set that up, what will that be, 2 years ago, and I think we've had over 500 members being put through that, which is great. We kind of saw a need for that at the time. Unfortunately, we lost a couple of members to farm accidents, and it's, when you look at the figures, agriculture's the fatal accident rate within agriculture is horrific. So we saw a need for that, and if we can engage with our members at this age, hopefully they can carry those lessons learned through their careers within agriculture. Also, another big training aspect of Agri Affairs, which also ties in with a few other committees, is the Cultivating Leaders. So it's a sort of leadership program that we run each year, where you learn about how to run a business, agricultural businesses. You learn how you work with bank managers on how to put a business plan together. You speak to land agents, accountants. It's a pretty good broad range kind of training program, which we run over 3 months, 3 different sessions, 2-day sessions. And at the end of that, you get to have a few visits out to farm where you speak to people that have been had Nuffield scholars, pretty inspirational people, and it's a great program. And that's one I've been lucky enough to go through, and a few others on the senior leadership team have as well.
I was going to say, a lot going on with Agri Rural Affairs, like just and then also the kind of backbone of what we do is how we reach out to grassroots members, and that is the sort of on-farm visits that we organise. So visits to different businesses. Each region has their own committee within the Agri Affairs Committee, and they organise different visits to farms, not specifically farms, agricultural businesses, and also usually in the winter, some panel nights where you get pretty interesting and inspirational people along to give you an insight into how they've got to where they are within their career, and how our members can, I suppose, relate to that and learn from them and take that back to their own careers, essentially. I'm laughing when you say panel nights with the inspirational people, because there's 2 folk in this call, me being one, Jane being the other, that sat on a panel once. And Jane, I don't mean to throw you under the bus, but I'm throwing myself under as well. I don't think those in attendance get much inspiration that night, that's for sure.
I don't know, Wallace, you've a pretty successful podcast.
I'm not saying what you're saying is incorrect, but what we spoke about
Jane, we
was
know
not
you're
the good stuff.
No, I was okay. I was all right.
We won't mention on the podcast what you said, Jane.
Yeah.
Try and save your position as you are at the minute. But the only one left. Thank you for that, Ali. Appreciate that. The only one left, and I don't know, from what I understand, Jane and Ali are the best people to speak on this one. Maybe not Jane. We're talking about her sister and almost herself, but not fully happening. But I've been involved somewhat. Is the international travel side of things, and that's one thing that I didn't realise just how much was done. Like, I mean, it's almost like a sort of like a step up to Nuffield is what it's like. I mean, it's a fantastic opportunity, and a great thing to get involved in. Just before we do that, one thing I meant to say was, Ali, when you were going through Agri and Rural Affairs there, one thing that I think would be good to get, and this is again more for Agri and Rural Affairs because you're not in it yourself now, but SRUC next gen would be a thing that I think you guys should be getting involved in. I'd never even considered it until now, so that's another thing to think about, sort of looking at the revamping of agricultural education in the country at a further and higher level. So
definitely,
it'd be a good move there. I'll try put the right wheels in motion for that. But Jane, Ali, if I've missed anyone that's done international travel or been involved in it, give us a wee recap, or not recap, just a sort of overview of what that is.
You're asking me to speak about something that I have never done.
Yeah, but you almost did it, in fairness.
I did, and it is a funny story. So my only attempt so far into international travel was the Russia trip, which was cancelled by COVID, and then I think the only trip not reorganised because, you know, Ukraine, World War III. It is one of probably it's probably the committee with the most exposure, because I think everyone sees it and just thinks, and rightly so, like, my goodness, like, this is amazing. Like, I would never get to go to half of these places. I think a lot of them as well, like going somewhere yourself. So SAYFC runs a mixture of solo travel, homestays, large group trips. Ali didn't mention, I don't think you mentioned this, but there's the Agri Affairs trip as well that gets run, and sometimes we do short haul group trips. So there was actually a good one example of that would be the Agri one again last year, which was the one that was at the Yorkshire Show, am I right? Yeah. So this year, we also have the ski trip sometimes as well, which is a big one. It's very popular, a harder one to get onto because there's such a large amount of people that want onto it. There's not enough spaces for everyone. So most of the trips, just from saying about spaces, there is a certain number that can go. Again, Agri and Rural Affairs, is it 16, maybe a bit more than that? Some 16, 17, 18, something, it depends on the trip. So that's more like a study tour. So this year they're going to Canada in July. That's a very, very hard one to get on, just because it's such a prestige. Ali, why will you let me speak about this when you've went on like 3 of them? I'm saying they're hard to get on and he's been on
2.
Oh, sorry, 2. So there's things like that. So I'll let Ali speak about the Agri one first.
I'll be honest, it's probably the best thing I've done in Young Farmers. I was pretty lucky back in 2018 to be selected on the group that went to California. So that was a 2-week study tour. I think there was 15 of us went to California. Looking at different agricultural businesses on the other side of the world, seeing what you can take back from that, learning about agriculture in a different part of the world. You learn so much. It's a pretty intense 2 weeks. You're on the move every day, sometimes 2-3 visits in a day. It's pretty intense, and you probably don't appreciate it at the time just because it's all go, and you never really get a chance to reflect on it. But I think once you come home and you actually sit down and think about it, there's so much you can learn from these trips. And then just this past year or last year, again, very, very lucky that I got to go on a second one to Chile. There was 15 of us went there, and that was amazing. That was a country that none of us probably knew very little about, but the agriculture, or the scale of agriculture over there, is just amazing, and a very, very productive nation that markets itself well on an international stage. And I think that's something Scottish agriculture can learn a lot from. Now that we're no longer part of the EU, we're going to have to market ourselves better so we've got an outlet for our produce, basically. The access you get on these trips, you get to see part of businesses that you would never, if you just visited the country, you would never get to see that. That's probably the best bit about the Agri Affairs trips. And we've been, in the past 10 years, we've been to Canada next year, Chile, California, New Zealand, Argentina. All over the world, and it's amazing what you can achieve.
It's really oversubscribed as well. Like I can't even begin to explain the amount of people that apply just for this trip, never mind like the other ones. Like the process to even get an interview is so difficult. How difficult it can be when Ali's 2, Who would know?
Yeah, but he is a very skilled man, clearly, Jane. You know,
It's amazing what you can blag yourself into.
But like I forgot what I meant to say earlier. We also do a junior camp as well for
Right.
juniors. So yeah, there is. So like the big trips this year. India. I blanked there. My sister is going on that trip. So
is it India, Canada, and Croatia?
That's kind of the bigger group ones. There's also there's a girl from Comores Young Farmers who's just left on her solo trip to New Zealand.
Right.
Solo trips to Canada as well, like your long haul ones. I think there's one to Canada as well. I'm trying to think what else. Lindsay. Cool.
I was going to say the exchanges are probably something that we need to have a bit more of a push on, because there's a lot of opportunity for solo travel to other countries. You know, I think there's 3 different states that you can go and exchange to in America. There's Canada, all over Europe, Switzerland, Austria, Norway, Ireland, Northern Ireland. There's homestays down south, England and Wales. Also New Zealand and Australia on exchange. There's a lot of opportunities for exchange, and it's probably something that isn't that the members don't take advantage of enough.
Is not the exchange, it'll be slightly different, but the sort of like long haul, the group tours, are they like a sort of like a study tour, if you will, but you know, slightly different? Is that how it's like ran?
Yeah, so the Agri Affairs ones so there's a sort of long haul one every second year.
Yeah.
Like California, Chile, it's every second year.
Yeah.
And on the in-between year, they'll probably do what we call a short haul. So, yeah, they went down to the Yorkshire Show last year, the Royal Welsh 2 years ago. We've had a few in Europe, which will, in terms of Agri Affairs trips, that's still classed as a short haul. So I think they've been over to Agri Technica, parts of Germany for different things. And they're maybe only a week at most. But the long haul ones every second year are usually a 2-week study tour.
I'm just thinking, and I think I said that at that SLT weekend where, and I think I said it to Mary, like Mary DeWish, that I've quite a good relationship with a study tour company called Learn International, and I don't know if there'd be like a thing we could do there that could almost put a lot of the admin off us. But that's a discussion for another day. But Tia, it's been class to sort of get almost everyone sat down and have a bit of a chat and go through, let's see if I can do it without looking, development and wellbeing, comms and marketing, competitions and events, agri and rural affairs, finance, and I've done it again. There's one. What did I forget? Who did I forget? International. Yeah, the one we just spoke about for 20 minutes. Oh dear, that's embarrassing. But yeah, I'm conscious that it is currently 13 minutes to 10. It's probably still 48 degrees.
A jumper on. I don't know why I put a jumper on.
You know, you could have turned your camera off for 2 seconds and put a t-shirt on.
My windows were open, but the noise was really bad. So I was like, I'll just close them. Then I sat down and I was like, we'd started and I was like, oh my God, like it is so warm in this house. It's like a greenhouse because I've got big, massive windows. It's like a greenhouse.
Well, I mean, I feel like I can see my reflection on my forehead at the minute. Like, I'm just feeling like a bloody baked potato. It's not good. It is awfully toasty. Do you know, I got in my car today and the temperature for it, as always, is in the car. And it's very accurate because I've tested it. It was 42. Now, windows down, drove exactly at 60 miles an hour, of course. And then it came down to 30. But oh my God, it was ridiculous. I couldn't believe it. But I'm going to 1 or 2 sentences of a question for each of you. Well, 2 questions for everyone. And then I've got 1 question to end off for Ali and Jane. I'm quite interested to hear the answer to as well. But the 2 questions I'm going to ask everyone is, 1, where do you, as you yourself, not SAYFC, you yourself, see yourself in 5 years? And the second one is, if you had to explain SAYFC to someone in 2 sentences or less, how would you do it? And I'm going to start with who's never had the opportunity first. Has anyone been? I think everyone has been first now. It's Sky. I don't know if you've been first. On you go. You can have a shot first.
Okay. First one was, where do I see myself personally in 5 years' time?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, definitely still kicking around young farmers for sure. I'm only 24, so I'll be 29. So hopefully I'll still be involved, competing, doing things, hopefully still in concerts and talent spots, because I don't see me leaving that anytime soon. I would like to find myself settled in a permanent teaching job somewhere fairly close to home. And yeah, just spending lots of time with my lovely nephew and the rest of my family. And who knows, 29's a long time away. Callum's listening over in the background, so I'll not tell him what I'm thinking about that. We've been together 5 years already. You're getting my drift, Wallace.
Yes, of course. Buying a new boat together.
Of course.
Yeah,
And the other
I've forgotten now. Yeah, explaining SAYFC in 2 sentences or less. Let's go. Let's make it really neat.
Okay. The opportunities are what you make of them. You have to just get stuck in and go for it.
Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Are you the youngest in this call, Sky?
Could be Laura. Yeah.
Yeah, you bet me. I'm 25 now.
What age are you, Grant? I think you're the only person that what age I don't know.
27.
So it was a humble flex to say she's still in her 20s in 5 years then.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's fine. See how it is. I hope you've kicked your feet up and got comfy and enjoying another fantastic episode of the R2Kast with another really interesting guest. I would just like to quickly take another second to plug the sponsors of the show today, the Scottish Farmer, and I would strongly advise you to go out and pick one up this week and see even more of the fantastic people that are in our industry. Grant, since you just unmuted, what about yourself? So 5 years and a very quick description, SAYFC.
5 years, I'll probably I'll definitely be out of young farmers by then.
That's going to be all of our answers.
I know. I probably quite involved at home in the farm, but probably even more involved. I went on as a partner in the business this year, so it's probably just learning that over the next while and hopefully developing and taking my own path on the farm a wee bit. We've still got Grandpa at home, so we're still waiting on him to retire, and then maybe I can move up to there, but I don't think that'll happen anytime soon. I just keep developing in life and settling more. And what's 2 sentences to describe young farmers? Probably mental, crazy, insane, but take every opportunity that comes and don't pass anything up, because there's probably things I didn't do in my time and I just wish I'd done probably more, and I just felt I've done quite a lot as it is.
Brilliant, good stuff. Laura?
5 years time, I'll just be coming to the end of my young farmers, which is very sad. That'll be a very, very sad day. I'm a bit like Jane, I'll need to find something else to get involved in, because young farmers is sort of my life. But similar to Sky with my teaching, that's I absolutely love my job. I'm one of these people that's really lucky to wake up and really look forward to going into my work. So I'm looking forward to just keeping that going, hopefully get a permanent job in the next few years, locally as well. And some people might think I'm daft for saying this, but still staying at the most southerly point in Scotland, because I love it. And I can't really see myself being anywhere else. So still being here. And your other one, young farmers, probably it's very special memories that you'll never forget, but you'll always look back on. And yeah, there is really something for everyone. Just give it a go. You'll not regret it.
Brilliant. Again, it's all good. Jane, you should be writing these down and pop them in the banners. I help you. Yeah. Oh, are you actually writing them down? You're a psychopath. You work way too hard. That's amazing. That is. In fairness, you'd be proud of me. I have almost finished a notepad. I've got one page left. That is all full of podcasts.
I'm actually am impressed. This was a gift, this book, from my friend Scott, who actually works for these people, but I don't know if that's a...
You're allowed to say Cars Billington.
I wasn't sure. So I stole it from a Highland show last year, and that's coming to the end as well, but it's like my lifeline. I can't function without this notebook.
You on commission, Jane?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get a new notebook for one. I've only got a couple of pages left, I just need a new one.
Cars, if you're listening, you can either sponsor the R2Kast or the National Chair of Young Farmers. Amy.
Yeah, so where do I see myself in 5 years' time? So I'm feeling a little bit old because I turned 29 on Saturday. So I'm like clinging on to my 20s. So in 5 years' time, I'll be 34. So yeah, I always think when I think of these things, I just want to be happy, just content with life. I'll be, feeling really sad that I'm no longer allowed to be a competitive member in Young Farmers, but I feel like I'll maybe be a coach of some sort. I feel like I'll still be trying to get my way in somehow. I'm really enjoying just when everyone's talking about their work. I'm enjoying my job at the moment, so I feel like I just want to get stuck in. As I mentioned, I've only been there 2 months so far, so I feel like in 5 years' time, I just want to be building on my knowledge of all things business advisory, really. And then in terms of explaining SAYFC, I would say just say yes to everything. That would be my advice. Don't be afraid to get out your comfort zone. And as everyone else has said, I think there's so many different opportunities. So if you've got an interest in anything, I feel like farming or non-farming, SAYFC probably has a competition or something anyway organised that you could go along to. So yeah,
it does. It absolutely does. No, good. Ali.
5 years' time, I'll be 31, so officially an old farmer.
Isn't like 49 a young farmer?
Oh, I've got a wee while to go then. 5 years' time, probably similar to Grant. I suppose in the next 5 years, just taking on a bit more responsibility at home. Allowing Dad. I suppose the next couple of years will be pretty busy. Mum and Dad will be pretty good support for me, so allowing them to have a bit more time off and a bit more holiday would be good. Not really sure what else. Suppose I'll have a bit more time if I'm not in Young Farmers. Might be able to play a bit of rugby again if my knee holds up.
And what was the other one? Young Farmers in 2 sentences.
I don't know what Jane's hinting at there.
I want to hear you say it. 5 years. There must be more.
We'll see what happens.
Come on, Ali.
We're all listening.
5 years is a long time.
We know.
Ali, you're allowed to tell everyone you want to buy a boat as well. It's fine.
Sorry.
It makes sense.
I've got a boat. Young Farmers in 2 sentences. I would say going along to my first new members night was probably the best decision I've ever made. Everything you gain from Young Farmers, you'll reference it throughout your entire life, I would imagine. That's more than 2 sentences, but it shaped me as a person. Basically.
I think that was exactly 2 sentences. I think that was perfect. I think maybe I'm counting poorly, but I think you're spot on. And last, but maybe in some ways most, Jane Strawhorn.
Well, I'll be officially retired from Young Farmers, so that will be something to. No, I'm not trying to linger on it too much. I'll just take it as it comes, see how this goes, not just try not to think about it too much because I'll be 28 next month. So there's that.
I was going to say, Jane, you're not 23. Yeah. So I was like, I've got this wrong here.
I wish. So I think, I don't know, for the next 5 years, probably focus on my career again, probably for the first time since, I don't want to say 14, but like probably just focus on my career, seeing what else I can do with that. Maybe go back to uni. I don't know. See. I'm not stressing about it too much. Like I have achieved a lot. Like I've got my flat. Like I don't know. Just see what happens.
And Young Farmers in 2 sentences.
Oh God. Probably, and this is probably going to sound more like advice, and Wallace, you've heard this before. But and it's I'm just going to go down more of the advice than anything, is don't rush anything. Go to what you want to go to. Enjoy it while you can, because it goes by so quickly. And 1 minute you're 14, walking through the front doors of whatever village hall your new members' night is in, and the next thing you're walking into the national AGM and you're being voted on as national chair, and it's gone. And it's like, where did the last 14 years of my life go? So just enjoy it, live in the moment, do the silly things that you want to do, have as much fun as you can. And if you want to do other stuff at the end of that, regional, national, whatever, then do it. But don't put pressure on yourself. It's fine. Just relax.
Love it. And that's the personal top.
And what about you?
Somehow.
What part of the top team? You're
Yeah,
part
it
of
was.
What would yours be?
Do you know, Sky, I thought when I filmed this, you were going to do that. I knew you were going to do that.
You don't get to just sit there and quiz us. That's not how it works.
That's exactly what I'm supposed to do. I'm pretty sure by definition that's the role here. Yeah, so I'll be same as Ali, 31. Well, my goal for some time has been in academia and it not be my primary income source. So that's probably where I'd love to do career-wise. I had a very boring linear career where I went straight to quite a good job and didn't really focus on any other things, hence why I never done Young Farmers till now. So I'm at the stage now, I was actually kind of just looking to turn up at an airport in the next couple of weeks and just see what was at the top of the list and go somewhere. So see a bit of the world, in fairness, see what's happening. Because I haven't done that at all, and I have neglected a lot of friends and family over the last few years to try to get to where I am, so see a bit of them as well. Young Farmers, I'm very much a weird, this isn't one of my sentences, I'm very much a weird example because I joined literally 13 months ago, but as someone who was established, Young Farmers was still able to offer me various opportunities, and is still offering, as I'm only a month into a national vice chairship. So yeah, brilliant, love it. So that'll be mine. I hate talking on this, that's weird, that was strange, I didn't enjoy that. Sky, do you want to be a co-host?
I think we'd make quite a good double act, Wallace.
Oh, I think that'd be class, that'd be good stuff. Yeah, there's got to be a name there. It's Sky, the Sky and Aaron connection. No, that's this is not, I can't
Another
think
time, another time.
Yeah, probably a good time one for another time. But there was one question I said at the start, well, not at the start, about halfway through, that I was going to ask Ali and Jane. On this call, you've had 7 of what I believe is 17 SLT, have I done the maths right there? 6 times 2 plus 3 plus 2, which I think is what it is. Have they done a good job?
Oh, they always do a good job. They always do a good job. But this is what I was going on about earlier. Like, everyone who's on these committees wants to be here. And you know, you get that from, like, you sit in a room with people. There's a big difference from sitting in a room with people who want to be there and people who don't want to be there. And, like, you've noticed that yourself. Like, even the weekend that like our first training weekend we were on, you just knew that every single person there wanted to be there, because they are passionate. And the thing is as well, I know I was going on earlier about how, like, Sky's passion, for example, is development and well-being, but that doesn't mean she can't contribute to a discussion about competitions or international or agri. Same with everyone else that sits on this committee. Like, everyone is so passionate about SAYFC, and not just in their own remit of whatever committee they sit on. They're always able to see the bigger picture. They will always do what's best for the organisation, not just their own committee. And you just feel it when you're working with them. Like, you know that they love what they're doing, and it makes my job easier, because there's nothing worse than having to, like, pull someone out of, not, like, if they got their head in the sand because they're like, oh, I'm not actually that fussed about doing whatever. Whereas everyone on here and everyone else that's not on here, the vices, the Colin and Gillian and Sally and their vices, like, they all want to be there, and it radiates whenever they're doing anything. And it's easy. They make my job so easy. Ali doesn't make my job, he makes my life miserable. So close to getting a compliment. But
Do
yeah,
you know, I was just about to say on that tear-jerking final note, and then you said about Ali. That's just ruined that for the end.
Ali and Colin.
Alan.
So yeah.
Ali, would you like to add to that? How I tell you what, the only person that hasn't been spoken for is Jane.
Well, before I big her up any more than she already gets. No, I'm just on the senior leadership team this year. I think we've got a very good group, and I think we work very well together. We all get on really well, which makes everyone's job a lot easier. And how each committee works together has improved a lot since the restructure. You know, in 2 years, the improvement in the communication and how each committee is working together has been massive. You know, the training that the Development and Wellbeing Committee organise isn't successful without the comms and marketing team promoting it. Competition and events don't run well without the budgets from finance allowing them to run. You know, we all work well and allow every opportunity for grassroots members, which is great.
Do you know? Just I know you're about to say one more thing, but you just done the wool in a speech. Now, only the people on this call are going to understand what I mean, and I think only Sky's got it so far. In fairness, is anyone else? Yeah, Amy's got it. Amy's got it. Laura and Grant might not. I don't think Ali and Jane have got this yet. That have you not? The wool.
Oh yes, I've got it now. I'm with you. Yeah.
So if you're listening to this podcast and you want to be part of that elusive joke, you have to join Young Farmers.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, the wool. And if one committee's not working well, the rest suffer. So we all, you know, and I think we've got a good balance this year, which is good. And we've got a good leader to keep us all in line.
It does feel uncomfortable being nice to her because she's always nasty to us. Like that's strange.
That's not true.
When she was talking
That
about
is true.
when she was talking about those voice notes, it's just abuse down the phone.
You don't listen to me in meetings, and I have to explain myself again by way of voice note because you're not listening to me.
Jane, I hadn't seen you in 3 weeks at the Highland Showground last month. I said, "Hi, Jane, how are you?" And you said, "Don't talk to me." That was all that had happened.
Show month. It's Highland Show month. I'm sorry. Okay, speak to me on the Monday after Highland Show, and I'll be the nicest person you've ever met in your life.
I would dispute on the Monday you'll be there, but maybe soon after. Yeah, no, here. Thank you all for coming on. This is currently 3 minutes away from being the longest R2Kast out of the first 113. So I do apologise how much of your time I've taken this evening. This is the second plus hour and a half podcast I've filmed in the last 3.5 hours. So it's been good fun. I hope you guys have enjoyed coming on. It's been quite cool to hear. Well, I guess I know what's happening, but it's also still quite cool to hear sort of just deep opinions and what we're sort of thinking. If you have been listening and you're not part of Young Farmers, you think, oh, maybe that's for me, or maybe you're listening and you are part of Young Farmers and you're wanting to move up the ladder a wee bit and get involved at national level and get involved in making a lot of large-based decisions, then maybe something is for you. Maybe come and have a chat with one of us at Highland, which will be starting in 2 days at the point of release of this podcast. Come and see us, see what's happening. Maybe you want to get involved. The last episode, as I said, was with Josh, a chef, talking about Michelin stars and all that sort of things that I did not understand. An upcoming episode will be, I think I said at the start, it'll be Sophie Bell, which I think is actually wrong. I think it'll be Ed Martin, who's a dairy farmer in Dumfriesshire, and he's also the co-host on my Secondaries podcast series. So we'll see you for that. Hopefully we'll see you at the Highland Show when I am sober, because that's what I'll be the whole time, and maybe more throughout the summer. Keep checking on the R2Kasts, and thank you all for coming on. Appreciate your time. We'll see you all later.
I hope you've enjoyed another excellent episode of the R2Kast. I just want to take this moment to quickly thank our primary sponsors once more, A-Plan Rural. If you follow A-Plan on social media, you'll see the work they're doing to really promote British farming and back our industry. It's been a pleasure working alongside A-Plan Rural so far, and long may it continue. The values of A-Plan Rural runs perfectly in line with the whole mantra of rural to kitchen, and I'm glad to have them on board. Check them out on Instagram at A-Plan Rural, and on Facebook at A Plan Rural Insurance. See you for the next podcast.